Hello.
Hey, happy
So,
day.
so I have questions for you. So we have these wonderful Advent devotional booklets.
Yeah,
And for those people who have them, I think they might wonder like, well, what do I do with this thing? How do I use this booklet?
that is a good question. Well, if you're like me, I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I actually have a bucket of colored pencils
Nice.
and you can color it. You can see I started coloring mine. Um,
All
there's
right.
different drawings in it that you can color in. You can also, there's different readings in it and meditations. My favorite part is that there's dinner conversation starters.
Oh, okay. Oh
Like
yeah.
like Robin, if we're at dinner together, even
Mhm.
if you're over Zoom, like dinner, you could ask somebody this question. The first one is, if you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that one. What's the next one? What specific experiences give you the most hope?
Whoa. I mean, these are meant to like make you think a little bit deeper than maybe you normally would, which
Yeah.
actually is sort of the purpose of this whole booklet. It's meant to help you pray a little bit more deeply, think a little more deeply. There's song suggestions.
Hmm.
And there's also these like weekly practices that will tie into the theme.
Hmm.
Um, Call a relative who lives far away. So nice. So um, you can do some every day. You can do it just once a week. However you want. It's meant for you to use in a way that's useful.
So it's not like you have to follow all these in like a straightforward order.
No,
Just kind of
you could just do the dinner conversation starters if you want. Maybe one person in the family just wants to color. Somebody just wants to do the songs. Um, yeah, you can do whatever you want out of it. It's really meant to be. It's meant to be enjoyed rather than make another task in your week.
that's beautiful. That's great because I feel like a lot of the time spiritual disciplines or devotionals can become like a chore. And then you feel bad that you've fallen behind or whatever. But this
This
is
really, yeah,
this is pretty thin, right? There's just like these 2 pages for every week with starters for you to sort of get started.
yeah, it's
And
like almost like little access points. Like it's meant to give different people with different styles. Like I like to color, but other people might do like poetry and there's poems in there. Other people may like just to sit in silence and light a candle. So it's meant to be accessible to different styles of learning and praying.
I'm reminded of how Martin Luther in the Protestant Reformation, he was really out of a love for people, he really didn't want to burden them with uh prayer or spiritual practices that were going to be just like another assignment that they had to schlep around with them and feel guilty about. So he basically had this approach to prayer that is described in a letter that he wrote to his barber, who asked him, like, how do you pray, Dr. Luther? And he wrote this long thing to his barber. But the gist of it is like prayer should flow from the heart. And whatever sort of lights a fire in your heart, that makes you reach out to God and cry out to God and praise God, whatever like lights that fire in your heart, that is useful, that is helpful. And for a lot of Christians, the best place to go for a fire like that is the scriptures.
Mhm.
You read some of the Psalms or you pray the Lord's Prayer, and there it is, and that fire starts lighting up. So he called it a kindling, like
Like
uh,
fire, like kindling for the
yeah,
fire.
a fire starter for your
Uh,
fire. And
that's
so,
great.
yeah,
Can I share a moment about why Advent is really special to me?
sure.
So when I was growing up, I think my mom inherited this practice from her family, but we'd eat dinner together almost every night as a family. And during Advent, We usually had something like this, like a devotional book, and we also had an Advent wreath, and we'd sit around the table, and after dinner, somebody got to read the devotional, somebody got to read the prayer, somebody got to light the candle, and then get this, each of us, all 6 of us, got to pick whatever Christmas song or Advent song we wanted to sing. And we went around. So we sang 6 songs every night, and we got to pick how many verses there were. And it's one of the most, I still look back at it and think of it, it's one of the most prayerful times with my family. And it was super joyful because we always know when we got to my dad, we'd be like, what song do you want? And he'd be like, let me think about it. And then he'd always go, and we'd wait, but we always knew it was coming, that it was Go Tell It on the Mountain.
Okay,
Like we always knew it. And he would say, just one verse. Like he's like, we don't need any more verses.
nice.
But it was such a joyful time. Yeah.
And there's something about Advent where Advent, of all the seasons in the church year, might be the one most suited for practice at home, right? I mean, like we have all these traditions that we've inherited, like the Advent wreath, for instance, that are perfect for home. Like, in fact, the Advent wreath, like our churches have Advent wreaths in the sanctuary, but that's really something that is a home tradition that we've chosen to take into the church building, not the other way around. So Advent's natural place actually is around the dinner table, is in your living room, is where your life already is. And so it couldn't come at a better time, right? Now that we all have this pandemic fatigue and everything is getting
And it's
colder
dark at
and darker.
4:30.
Exactly. So perfect time for Advent. But speaking of Advent wreaths, so you made an alternative for an Advent wreath called a Yule.
Well, so this is a tradition I grew up with. So my mom would always weave together an Advent wreath with like pine boughs. But our church, our congregation group, did this thing where this woman, Cindy Bush, bless her, would cut from her yard these logs and drill 4 holes for us. And it was like a candle holder. She always called them like a Yule log. And I'll show you the alternative I made.
Okay.
You can see. So it's just a log with 4.
That's really nice. Yeah.
And then you just decorate it with stuff. But here's the thing. I have to say, until this year, I hadn't really thought much about the word Yule log. I know that it's a dessert and it's very tasty. It's like chocolate, looks like a log.
Yeah.
But Robin, do you know the history behind Yule?
Well, all I know is what I was told yesterday by a Swedish volunteer who came to serve at Faith Kitchen. And I gave her one of those Yule logs you made, and she was like, Yule is Christmas in Swedish.
Yeah.
So that's what I know.
Yeah, I looked it up because you were asking me like Yule log, why is that? And I was like, ugh. But it's like a wintertime tradition. And when I looked at the etymology, it was like Yule, sort of a Nordic word that's now, it's sort of morphed. It was like pre-Christmas, sort of a pagan thing that morphed then, and we kind of Christianized it, like a lot of things we do.
Lovely. Christ is present everywhere.
Yes. And it really meant sort of like the winter time when it got darker, to bring out these candles and like scatter some of that darkness with the light. So yeah, that's an alternative I grew up with. And just because you don't have an Advent wreath or log, you can do like candles. You can kind of make it your own.
Can you show us yours again?
Yeah.
So basically so what thanks to you and the people at Good Shepherd, what we're able to give people, by the way, everybody listening, you can have one of these. We have plenty left at Faith Lutheran. And so it's just a block of
wood
tree with
and
the whole
flattened on the bottom so that it lays on the table or your hearth or whatever. And then there's like 4 holes that you put candles in.
And the candles you've already prepared for us, they come with the log. So that's super sweet.
Yeah, it comes with the log. And so sort of I go by the tradition that it's this blue season. So I have a blue ribbon in it to remind us of like what time of year it is. And there's 4 candles And you don't light them all at once. You light them according to the week. So on week 1, you light 1. And on week 2, you get to light 2, 3, and 4, so that it gets brighter and brighter and brighter. You may have to replace some of the candles at some point if you let it, drip down. But yeah, that's the basic format.
Very cool. Well, thank you for preparing that for us. That's another exciting way to practice Advent.
Yeah. Do you have your wreath? The one that the Germans made?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Here, I'll walk over. So yeah, so this is our personal wreath.
Ooh.
It's really lovely. And
Yeah.
it's definitely a German touch to put red candles on it.
Yeah. It's really beautiful. And we'll get to use that for worship, I think, right?
Yes, that's the one that we use for worship. Absolutely.
Cool.
So thanks for the time. And I hope this gives people some inspiration for their Advent season. And
Yeah.
we'll see each other on Sunday on Advent
Yes.
1.
On Advent 1, I guess I always say with people during Advent, happy waiting or blessed waiting, because we're waiting, right? So blessed waiting to you.
Nice.